Weather Center forecast. We'll have clouds and sunshine today, a high of 78. Currently 59. Next news coming up at 9. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. When you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2 on AM 560 The Answer.
Oh, sing it, John Anthony. Come on. You got a good voice.
No.
Oh my God, who sings this song? Because I just butchered it. Hi, good morning. Amy Jacobson here. John Anthony in for Dan Propt.
Hey, hey.
And what time did you find out yesterday?
2:30ish, I think it was, maybe.
In the afternoon?
I was eating a hot link. So I got the text.
When you got the call on the bat,
the
bat phone,
hot
saying, we need you to come in.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Well, a lot was going on, including at 2:24 this morning when the Speaker of the House, Mr. Welch, decided to call it quits and said that, we've done enough here. Everybody go home. You've been through that how many times?
3 budgets, I believe.
Why do y'all wait until the last?
We don't wait. It's not our problem. It's the leadership of the House on the Democrat side. They control the budget process. They determine when it comes out. And each time we got it like probably an hour or two right before session was supposed to be done.
And it was more than just the budget being
Right.
considered. We have a number of bills.
Yes.
Moving the primary from March to June.
Temporary.
Yeah, sure. Temporary. Making Juneteenth, Emancipation Day, a state holiday in Illinois, and it goes on and on. But one thing that they kind of tried to slip through without a lot of debate and detail was the sex education curriculum. And for more on that, we welcome back to the program good friend Jeanne Ives, former member of the Illinois House of Representatives, former gubernatorial candidate, was so close to beating Ron, or so close. Good morning, Jeanne. How are you?
Good morning. Great to be on with you.
Yes, so let's break down the sex education curriculum. What's in it, and what do we have to expect for our children if they're in public education?
Well, first of all, Illinois already has a number of schools that teach comprehensive sex ed. And in fact, Chicago Public Schools is one of them. And it's been an utter failure. In fact, they've spent $4 million on comprehensive sex ed. And, they've got nothing to show for it. Their rates of pregnancy and use of having sex without a condom are the same as anybody else's if they were not to have comprehensive sex ed. So comprehensive sex ed has been a failure. But this takes it to the next level. This basically says in school districts, public school districts in the state of Illinois, if you're going to teach sex ed at all, you must teach comprehensive sex ed that aligns with the national sex education standards, which are over the top. It is indoctrination into all of the gender identity stuff, starting in kindergarten. So this is not your typical, health class about anatomy at all. This goes way beyond that.
And Jeanne, it's disheartening to see some of the stuff that I saw. I saw State Representative Tony McComey posted on her page, and Darren, I believe, and Adam Niemer. When you look at the book that's supposedly one of the that meets the standards, talking about masturbation, talking about showing one picture with a young person holding a mirror, looking at their their private parts, anatomy, and things of that nature. The depravity that's happening.
And that's starting in grades 3 through 5. I mean, the standards according to the National Sex Education Standards, I'm really reading straight from them, and anybody can Google this.
Yeah.
But under puberty and adolescent sexual development, it literally says explain common human sexual development and the role of hormones, e.g., romantic and sexual feelings, masturbation, mood swings, timing of pubertal onset. This is all in grades 3 through 5. By the time you're in grades 6 through 8, explain anal sex and oral sex and regular sex.
Oh my God.
That's what it was so bad. Literally listed in the standard.
But it was so bad that even Democrats, they didn't get a lot of Democratic support about this or on this. Tell us.
Well, that's the good news. So it only passed with 60 votes. So I think there's a real huge opportunity to do two things. One, people need to go to their school boards and say that we do not want the state to mandate what we consider to be sexual education in our district. And they need to tell the school board members two things. One, we want you to write an open letter to Governor Pritzker to veto this bill. And your failure to do so tells us that you stand in with Planned Parenthood, with these comprehensive sex ed standards, and against the community and the innocence of our children, and make them choose. Make them take a stand one way or the other, because these school board members were silent. These principals, these superintendents were silent. They could have killed this bill, and they didn't, and it barely passed.
Well, Jeannie, did you see the comment from ISB? You know, although we agree with the spirit of the bill, we're more focused on the unfunded mandate aspect of the bill. Are you freaking kidding me? Did you read the bill? Did you see what was in the bill? Now, granted, there is an opt-out, correct? And the superintendents don't have to implement it. Wasn't that part of the last agreement?
Okay, so there's a lot of discrepancy about whether or not how far the mandate goes. It certainly appears, and the floor debate supported it. So if you go off of legislative intent in the floor debate, it certainly says that if you are teaching sex education at all in your school, you must teach to this standard. Oh. So you could probably just say, well, we're only going to teach quote unquote health education and not go as far as this requirement is, but it is unknown at this point how far that mandate exceeds. What's also interesting, though, is that parents can opt out their kids from this type of education, and so we should have a whole way for parents to be aware of this and opt out of it. But the language in the bill is so ridiculous. It says that a school district may not require active parental consent for comprehensive sex ed. So they're literally writing in there that the school cannot almost notify parents that this is what they're teaching and cannot ask for a positive consent to this education. And flat out says you can't do it because they want to shove this down the children's throats. And this is what's really a problem.
And I know, Jeannie, my kids both had COVID, so I had CPS contact tracers and Chicago Department of Health contact tracers. And you know what they asked me? They asked me, what was your son born? Was he born a male or female? I said, well, he's my son, so he's a male. What does he identify now as? And is he heterosexual? Is he homosexual? Is he pandemic? Is he cisgender? And I said, what in the HE double hockey sticks does that have to do with COVID?
Well, he'll have a menstrual pass now.
Both of them, both those CP. I mean, I was out of my mind. I'm like, if you're here to talk to me about COVID, that is fine, but this is none of your business. And actually, it's none of your business too. Contact tracing us and everything because we've been double vaccinated.
Yeah, according to the National Sex Education Standards, you're supposed to be able to define sexual orientation in grades 3 through 5.
Oh my!
You're supposed to differentiate between sexual orientation and gender identity.
So she did. She put them down as
undecided. The relationship between sex and human reproduction in grades 3 through 5.
Oh my God, they don't know. Well, I don't even want to talk about that when you're in 3
No, nobody wants.
Well,
it's actual sexual harassment. This bill is grooming kids for sex, and it's honestly, if you were to present much of this material to children as just a layperson, you would be considered a sexual harasser. 100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I have a 7-year-old child, my daughter, and I have 5 girls, and I'm thinking about. What we're talking to her about right now is not this. We're teaching her. We're taking her along slowly, but.
And what grade did you say?
She's in 2nd grade.
I don't even.
Yeah, think about
whatever
that.
happened to waiting until 6th grade before you even had this discussion? And you don't even want to know.
Well,
I mean, it's just uncomfortable at the time, and it's strange. But you're right. We're shoving this down their throats, saying, "Hey, we're
in 6th
encouraging
grade,
this
they're
behavior."
supposed to learn how to use a condom.
Is that's part of this new bill?
Yes, it's part of the sex education standards list. 4 different methods of contraceptions that are available without a prescription: abstinence, condoms, emergency contraception, and withdrawal.
Oh.
Grades 6 through 8, that's part of their sexual health standard.
Jeannie, do you think the
it's all there in black and white?
Do you think the pendulum, with all this Marxist progressive stuff that's happening, do you think there's an opportunity for the pendulum to swing back toward normalcy here in the state of Illinois?
Well, I hope so, but when I still see kindergartners wearing a mask on the playground right next to my house, I'm like, you know what? You've got idiots running your schools and your park districts that haven't figured out that masks don't work, especially on children
I know.
running around outside.
And they don't need them to begin
so
with.
I don't have a whole lot of hope right now.
But I used to be a COVID enthusiast. I mean, you know, because my favorite Jeanne Ives story is she and I were, and Willie Wilson, we spoke at an event in Lake Geneva. And I was talking to her and her partner, Kathleen, and I kept doing hand sanitizer, just not even knowing. And you looked at me, you said, are you done yet? But then I took a step back. I started reading more. I started listening to other opinions. I started, looking at John Hopkins, which, by the way, came out over the weekend and said, we shouldn't be listening to everything the CDC says, and just became more relaxed. But I needed people like you because you were so calm and cool and collected. I remember you told me you still had a sleepover you invited your son's friends over. And I thought that was so reckless at the time, but it wasn't. And you were right the whole time, Jeannie. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That and $3 gets me a cup of coffee. But I mean, listen, parents need to take back their school boards. Honestly, these people are sheep. They're afraid to speak up. I don't know why. I mean, but the stuff going on in schools is really egregious. I mean the diversity, equity, inclusion stuff, that's all over the suburbs. It's in every single district that I know of. And then now comprehensive sex ed, and these school boards continue to capitulate to the superintendents, and the superintendents are just part of a long-time system where they do not, honestly, they just care more about their job than the kids. I am convinced at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, private school parents spoke up, and we did a lot of messaging on it, but HB 2789 that would have had the state take over your public and private schools in the case of health emergency. There was enough information put out about that to stop it, which is good. I think there wasn't enough information on this bill, but certainly we should have the wall of shame for the legislators who did vote for this, and I'm going to make sure that people in the suburbs know that the knuckleheads who voted for this bill.
Yeah, and I'm so glad HB 2789. I mean, 17,000 Illinoisans sent a message to state lawmakers in one day saying they don't want the state to push ahead with overreaching new rules to govern both public and private schools. So hopefully it's not going to go anywhere from here.
Yep, that's hopefully.
Right. And I mean, Jeannie, what do you think about this budget just passing? I was telling Amy, I sat through 3 of those. We would get it like an hour before it was time to vote on it.
Speed read 3,000 pages. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Now, I'm hearing, Jeannie, that there's also a pay increase for lawmakers that was hitting.
There is.
Within this, this budget.
Oh, there's a pay increase. Well, yes. Oh, yeah. Your state rep and state senators I think it's $1,200 a piece. They're going to get more, and their district office allotment doubled. So we used to get about $70,000, $69,000 and change to run your local district. That's going up to about $140,000. Oh. Now, the last 2 years I was in office, I got rid of my district office because literally nobody came to cold call me. They set up an appointment. I thought, well, I can just set up an appointment at the library and meet them. Yeah. And the legislative assistant I have in Springfield can handle any constituent concerns. So I got rid of my district office and returned all that money to the taxpayers. Many, many state reps and senators in other states don't have district offices at all. This is just a boondoggle. And so they raise their pay and they raise their district allotment.
Wow. And it's so crazy, too. Mm-hmm. And where are the state reps and state senators? I mean, Governor Pritzker signed another emergency order on Friday. Just, like in the darkness of night, he just, while he was on vacation, signed another emergency order for the next 30 days. And our positivity rate in the state of Illinois is 1.6%. It is the lowest it has been since this pandemic started. So how are they going to, why isn't any Republican lawmakers pushing back on all these executive orders and emergency orders, I mean?
Well, I think that they're fighting the fights that they could fight, quite frankly, when it came to all the other legislation and the bills down there. And listen, there's a whole slew of bad bills that got passed additionally. And I think that they've fought that fight and they lost in the courts too, and nobody's reined them in. And so they just figured out that that's what's going to happen. Fight on something else.
And I'm sure you're not surprised that they spent more time on tampons in boys' bathrooms and locker rooms than they did on the budget.
Yeah, of course.
It's remarkable that you can't have an honest discussion about that at all. So
It's not needed. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing. And you know what high school boys are
Yeah.
going to do, and middle school
It's
kids.
going to be all over the high school.
They're going to be, yeah. Oh yeah, this is free. What is this? Yeah.
Jeannie, now.
well,
go ahead.
and then the new election law too is ridiculous. You're having people who can, in perpetuity, have a vote by mail ballot sent to their home. They can just sign up for permanent vote by mail status. Well, I mean, our rules are voter rolls are already a mess. This is going to be even more of a nightmare, even more of a reason to clean them up. And yet there's no legal way that you can make your clerk take people who have died even off the rolls.
Yeah.
So it's
Jeannie,
a mess.
I want to get your take on the maps. What are your thoughts about, where are they getting this data from?
And they're still going to wait now.
Right. Now they're going to wait to do the congressional maps. Though.
Right.
That's so they have to, that's two totally different
A lot
things.
of Republicans are going to be running against each other, incumbents.
What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I mean, obviously they were 100% politically written, 100% politically drawn. In the initial map that they had, well, they changed it in the second iteration of that map. 0 of 73 House Democrats were drawn together because they know everybody's individual address.
Yeah.
But 20 of 45 Republicans were drawn in with each other, and 13 new House districts had nobody in them at all. They were open for people to just jump in and run in an open district, which is huge. So they literally had nothing to do with the census. They drew around individual legislators' homes about who they wanted in, who they didn't want to compete against. All the Democrats were protected. Now, a little bit of that changed, but you still have, I think, 16 Republicans drawn in with each other.
I'm shocked that Keith Wheeler. I'm shocked that Keith Wheeler.
It's ridiculous.
I'm shocked that Keith Wheeler is being drawn out when especially with how him and the speaker's been really chummy.
Well, maybe it's not him who's being drawn out, but the other guy, Ugasti.
Oh,
you have to look at it both ways,
good
right?
Point. Good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
such a mess.
But it's 100% political. This is them picking exactly their voters. When you look at the districts, and I love the meme that somebody put up on Facebook, they have the Iowa districts. All of them look almost square.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, almost perfectly compact and square. And when you look at Illinois districts, they are snaked in and around each other. It is a mess. So,
all right.
Snake pit.
Thanks so much, Jeanne Ives, former member of the Illinois House of Representatives for the 42nd District and gubernatorial candidate, and a friend to many. Jeanne, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
You too. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I have so much energy. It's ridiculous. I have to make myself go to bed at night because I'm not tired. I'm telling all my friends it's so worth it because I have so much energy. And I'm energetic anyway, but I usually fall to bed exhausted at night. But no, I have to make myself go to bed because I could still be doing other stuff. I feel wonderful. I really, really feel wonderful. Balance in nature is incredible. It really is.
Get a wide variety of all your daily recommended servings of whole fruits and vegetables without having to leave your home. Right now, Balance of Nature